they had this idea where they would, they did a marketing gimmick where they created fictitious brands of cereal because they wanted to pitch themselves as Air Bed and Breakfast was the name of the company then. And they did this whole thing where they made these two cereals, Captain McCain's over John McCain and Obama O's for Obama. And they were cheeky and funny and quirky and very RISD. And they sold them for $40 a box as collector's editions. And they seeded them to the press, and they thought the press would like that. And they were right. The press ate it up. And they ended up making $30,000 from the cereal. Now, that didn't turn the company around. In fact, Brian Chesky's mother called him at one point and said, I don't get it. Are you a cereal company now? And he didn't know how to answer that question. And that was the most depressing thing, because technically they were making a lot more money on the cereal than they were on the business. But ultimately, one of their advisors said, you guys have to go apply for Y Combinator, which is an accelerator program in Silicon Valley. It's very highly regarded. And the three founders said, but we launched. We've been written up on TechCrunch. We don't need to go to Y Combinator. And he looked at them, Michael Seibel, and he said, you guys are dying. You have to go to Y Combinator. So going to Y Combinator gave them, and it was the cereal that got them into Y Combinator, because Paul Graham, who ran Y Combinator at the time and who was a very tough critic, he didn't think it was a good idea either. He said, what's wrong with people? They actually stay in people's homes? That's crazy. But on the way out, they happened to mention that they sold all this cereal. And he said, what? And he said, if you can convince people to buy cereal for $40 a box, you can probably convince people to sleep in other people's air mattresses. So, but then it was really the advice that he gave them once they were in, which was go to your users and shower them with love. They didn't have many users, but the ones they had were all here in New York. And they didn't even think about doing that, coming to visit their users here. And they literally sat with them for hours on end and watched them use their product. They realized that they didn't know how to post photos very well. They didn't know how to write listings in a way that made them appealing. So they just sat with them and helped them merchandise their listings in a better way and dress them up and gussy them up a little bit. And doing that, they saw their numbers after a few weeks double from a very low base, but that's what turned the numbers around. From there, it was still a very long journey, but that's when the turning point hit.